Joining us right now on the Nick Cattle Show, Tyler Dunne, who is the founder of Go Long, golongtd.com. Tyler, thank you for the time. It is much appreciated, my friend. Of course, we start with the news of the day. Deshaun Watson to Cleveland. How shocked were you that he ends up being a Brown?
Unbelievably shocked. I guess everybody was, but having talked to people involved and in the know, I think that this kind of caught everybody by surprise, that the Browns sure seem to be out of this. I mean, they basically came out and said that they wanted Baker Mayfield to be their quarterback as Baker Mayfield was demanding a trade. So money talks, right? At the end of the day, when you make somebody, the richest NFL player ever in terms of guaranteed money by $80 million, that player is going to say yes, and it comes with a million elements of risk and PR damage control, and I don't know what kind of message you're really sending here when it comes off the field. But on the field, obviously, Deshaun Watson's special. You can say he's a top 3 quarterback. The last time we saw him, the Texans stunk, but he was unbelievable. I mean, he's unquestionably one of the best players in the league. You know what I can't get past, Nick, is just the fact that you've got a team telling Chris Mortensen that you want a quote-unquote adult at quarterback.
Yep.
And this is the adult that you choose. It's sick. I'm sorry. It's a little sick.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I'm going to talk about the money in a minute with you because of the loophole the Browns found, which is just repugnant to me. Tyler, when you look at this story, is this actually a bad day for the NFL?
I think if you're looking at everything off the field, and if you look at the NFL as something larger than 3 hours on a Sunday, yeah, and it's par for the course. I mean, Deshaun Watson isn't the first player to come through this league and be rewarded for his play when you're accused of some vile behavior off the field. I'm sure you've gotten into specifics. Like, at best, it's disturbing, it's disgusting. At worst, it's he should be locked up, and obviously criminally, grand jury didn't charge him. But the civil suits, he's got 22 of those to deal with now. So to answer your question, yeah, I don't think it's a good day when a week earlier the team is tweeting about International Women's Day. Jimmy Haslam, Dee Haslam, they're going to have to answer some questions. I don't really know what they're going to say to justify this other than Deshaun Watson is really, really good. And, hey, that's how it works. If you're really talented, teams tend to look past things you did off the field.
Talent trumps all. Tyler Dunne is with us here on the Nick Cattle Show. Tyler, were you more shocked by the trade where Watson landed or the fact that he got $230 million guaranteed as part of this deal?
Probably the money. That's a really good question because I'm absolutely shocked that he chose Cleveland. Being from Gainesville, Georgia, I did a lot of stories on Deshaun Watson, before all this kind of went down, and you won't find one person who ever said a bad word about him. Family, coaches, teammates, from high school to Clemson to Houston. The guy is so beloved, and especially back there in his hometown. I mean, they're ready to build statues for the guy, and I really thought that the lure of home would bring him to Atlanta. I thought that maybe the fact that New Orleans is New Orleans with the roster they have, and it's still being down south, that would be appealing. And Cleveland's kind of Cleveland. I mean, there's a reason they haven't gotten a lot of talent there the last couple decades. So I guess in a weird way you give them credit for acquiring a very talented player, but they acquired that player because money talks. Like, I don't think the Saints and Falcons that were coming close to that figure. And the Browns gave up the 3 firsts and 2 other picks. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess their camp's putting out that it's a competitive roster. It's a good situation, and it is. I mean, I think Andrew Berry, they've got a lot of really good people in that front office that have done a lot right. So you could make that case, but this sure seems to be a case of the team that's willing to pay the most getting the player.
So maybe the most ridiculous part of all of this, and we're going to talk about other stuff than Watson and the Browns, but the $1 million loophole. So this year, the Browns are going to pay Watson $1 million of a base salary. And the idea is if he gets suspended, his money that will be taken away, their game checks, and so he will only be fined off of that $1 million. Your thoughts on the loophole and what the Browns did going above and beyond for Watson?
Yeah, if you're cynical about the NFL and how this league is run, I mean, there you go. This kind of stuff happens all the time. It's not just the Browns. so many teams pull off this kind of crap, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised, right? I mean, it's a ruthless business. I mean, the best coach in NFL history, Bill Belichick, his history is scattered with bending the rules to his liking in so many ways. So I don't think that we should be stunned. It's just, to me, it's just like another reminder of how this league's run.
Tyler Dunne with us, founder of golongtd.com. How do you expect, by the way, Watson and the Browns to handle all the assault questions that they're obviously going to get?
I'm sure they'll say as little as possible and probably refer to the fact that a grand jury did not charge and try to just kind of stick with that talking point where, I mean, anybody with a cell phone can Google the accusations, can see that it was 22 different women and draw their own conclusions. I think they'll try to run away from this and say as little as possible. And, the way that the NFL is covered these days, it kind of helps the Browns in a sense because so much is still on Zoom, so much is just sanitized, poll-tested, insipid press conferences where everything is just everybody's just kind of playing a part. So they'll be asked tough questions. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of very good people covering that team in the local media. They'll be asked these questions, but it's just tougher to get to the substance. And I feel like they'll find a way to kind of work around it, and it'll just it'll be what, one press conference that they'll answer for this, and they'll say as little as possible. And then the next one they'll say we already answered for it, and that'll be that. That's how this thing goes.
Let's look at the Houston side of this. Did they get less than you expected them to get?
I thought it was a lot. I mean, unless I'm misreading it here, 3 firsts, 2 other picks?
Yeah, 3 firsts, a third, and then they swapped 4th and 5th round picks.
That seems to be a pretty good haul. We'll see how good the Browns are in this AFC too. I think Watson is an unbelievable talent, but holy cow, this conference is just become such an arms race that there's a chance that one of those picks, one injury here, one injury there, you might be looking at a couple top 10 picks. We'll see. I mean, it's one thing to get all the picks in the world. It's another thing to turn those picks into talent. I think that's a reason why a team like Green Bay doesn't even entertain the possibility of trading Aaron Rodgers for the last 2 off seasons when, I don't know, to me, what an opportunity to rebuild, to look to the future when you can probably just ask for whatever the hell you want if you're Green Bay. And they just, they're going to ride this out. They're going to run it back for another year. If you believe Andrew Brandt, they might be able, Aaron Rodgers might be able to get out of this deal after 1 year. So then it's all worth it. It's all worth the Super Bowl or bust kind of season because you have that quarterback. I think that the way Cleveland's looking at it is the same way. Like, all right, these are picks, but we know what Deshaun Watson is as a player. We don't know what those picks are going to turn into. LA Rams obviously took this model to the extreme, and they won a Super Bowl. We'll probably see more of this. If there's a team out there that views themselves as a contender and they're a player or two away and they need a quarterback, whatever, they'll just part with these first-round picks in bundles.
Got about a minute left here, Tyler. Got to ask you about Vegas for the Raiders fans out here. After that Devontae Adams trade, the pickup of Chandler Jones, the trade for Rock Ya-Sin, is Vegas a legitimate Super Bowl contender after the moves this week?
It's hard. It's really hard for me to take that leap in that division when you've got Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson. I mean, these are maybe 3 of the best 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the NFL. But, gosh, when you list out those names, when you look what they've done these last 48 hours, I wouldn't be surprised, right? I mean, it wouldn't be a shock if the Las Vegas Raiders are competing for a Super Bowl. I mean, Derek Carr has been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL his whole career. You give him Devontae Adams now, somebody he's familiar with, a college teammate. They love each other. There's a lot to like there. And, my God, I not to always bring it back to Aaron Rodgers, but you can kind of see why he wants to stay in the JV NFC North as opposed to what that cutthroat AFC was. JV might be a little too much. We might be talking about 6th grade youth basketball compared to what the AFC West has going on.
I mean, the AFC is just a monster with the quarterbacks they have. Tyler Dunne, a founder of golongtd.com. Tyler, it's always great to catch up. Let's do it again soon, my man.
Absolutely. Anytime, Nick. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you. There goes Tyler Dunne. Coming up, Doug Christie joins us.